All right, gang, winter is upon us. It's getting cold out there. I really love it when it gets cold. You get to bundle up and spritz on the strongest fragrances. But which of those fragrances gets you compliments? Which of those fragrances gets heads to turn and ask you what fragrances you're wearing? I've got a great collection of them. I've got 21 of them here. These are the projection kings, the projection monsters. These are the fragrances you're going to want to wear to get the attention of someone that you're trying to get the attention of, or just wear them to smell great and potentially have somebody ask you what you're wearing. So these are strong, super strong fragrances, and I've tested them out. I enjoy them quite a bit. And I'm going to let you know all about these fragrances right now. Let's get started with the first fragrance. This is TIZIANA Terenzi's HALE BOPP. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. It's a super duper intense amber that's kind of reminiscent to the fragrance from Chanel called Le Lion. But I think what they've done here is they've taken away the animalic qualities that Le Lion has. I don't consider Le Lion to be super duper animalic, but some people find it to be like extremely smoky, kind of leathery animalic. But if you're kind of not into that, you can try this one. But it's super resinous, it's balsamic, lots of amber here. It's spicy, it's warm, it's vanillic, and also super potent, intense, long-lasting, and amazing projection. So HALE BOPP, check it out if you don't know that one. It definitely gets people to ask what you're wearing. So we're going to the house of JUSBOX. It's 54. Got to include this one here. It does definitely garner me a lot of compliments. And even though it's not super duper thick and dense, it's got great lingering power with amazing projection. And people will stop you and ask you what you're wearing. In the end, it's patchouli, it's chocolatey, milky, vanillic, sandalwoody, little fruity, and also you've got tobacco in the base. And for me, on the dry down, it turns into like a chocolate milk effect. And I absolutely love it. Really, really amazing smell. If you haven't tried this one, I highly recommend it. It's a great fragrance that I'm very proud of to be involved in the creation of. JUSBOX is 54. Awesome stuff. Really amazing smell and great projection. So we're going to the house of TRUDON. I haven't spoken much about this house, but I'm actually head over heels for this new fragrance. It's called 45 Degrees, or maybe just 45. So TRUDON is a candle maker, and they have been releasing fragrances. This is my very first TRUDON fragrance, although I've done videos on the fragrances from samples and things. You can search the channel. But here we've got a sweet vanillic fragrance that's kind of ambery and resinous, but also super intense, sort of reminiscent of something rosy that kind of lightly hints at something like the fragrance Guidance, or maybe Empatia from BDK. But that's kind of faint because it's covered up and smeared with a lot of vanillic notes. So it's sweet and spicy, ambery, velvety, smooth, as I said, and really amazing projection. You'll smell wonderful. There is a kind of a red hot quality about it, and that's kind of, I guess, obvious with the fact that the bottle is so red, but super amazing fragrance. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's my favorite in the trio of extracts that they just launched, or Parfum concentration fragrances that they just launched, and it smells heavenly, and it'll be perfect in the cold. Really awesome projection. So the next fragrance, we're talking about BLNDRGRPHY's Vanilla Mudslide. So I do have to say, the fragrance is sold out once again. Now we have kits that we're going to put together of this fragrance once again. It was featured in the Scent Club kit from earlier this year, but the brand's been selling out. I think it's just become a really popular fragrance. And out of all the fragrances that the brand launched with, they launched with 5. Vanilla Mudslide is the one that's selling because I've been hyping it because I love it. I love the way it smells. And also it's really, really awesome scent with vanilla. So if you're looking for a bottle's going to take a while for them to come according to the brand. And the only retailer that sells this brand in the States is ZGO Perfumery here in San Francisco. So they're the ones that have been selling out. So if you are looking for this fragrance and you can't find it, as I said, we have some Scent Club kits that feature this fragrance in it. And what's Vanilla Mudslide all about? Vanilla Mudslide is a sticky, ambery, spicy, almondy vanilla fragrance that is amazing. It smells so awesome. It's super long lasting, super intense. It's an extrait de parfum, and great projection, and a compliment getter as well. So I'm an oversprayer with all of these fragrances, even though they're super potent. So if you're looking for some compliments, if you are looking for those heads to turn, If you want people to chase you down a hall, or you want to leave your scent in an elevator, add a few more sprays and see if the compliments kind of start coming in. But this stuff is so awesome, so amazing. I traveled with it for about 2 months, 2 months plus, since the beginning of September until like last week in November, which was my last trip I took to New York City. It smells great. It's super spicy, and it does somewhat remind me a little bit of tobacco vanille, not in the way it smells, but the way the fragrance wears. So it's a showstopper. It's a fragrance that turns heads. So check it out if you don't know it. But as I said, the fragrance is completely sold out in the States. They're waiting, the retailer's waiting for bottles. But in the meantime, you can discover it through a Scent Club kit, which we are just putting together more of. The next fragrance is from the house of MAISON CRIVELLI. It's TUBEREUSE ASTRALE. It's a really awesome scent, and it's become my favorite in this series. Although I haven't really explored the new one, Queer Infra Rouge, which was actually a Selfridges exclusive. But this one does it for me. It's so awesome. It smells fantastic. It's tuberose in the end. And also, it's got spices. Somebody mentioned the other day in a cinnamon video I put out, they said, oh, the cinnamon fragrance that I really think is the best representation or something like that for cinnamon is this fragrance. But you know, when I look at this fragrance, I'm not looking at it in the cinnamon direction. It doesn't come off very cinnamony, I have to say. But in the end, it's the signature Quantum Biche DNA, the fragrances as he's done. It's kind of a pulpy tuberose, a bit creamy, a bit milky. And then behind it, there's these mineralic kind of spicy, woody, and of course, cinnamon in there as well. And so all of that together for a sexy experience. There's a little bit of a cuminy thing happening as well. See, that's the thing I get more of the cinnamon, because the cinnamon is kind of nondescript. The cumin kind of jumps out at me. So I don't look at this as a cinnamon fragrance, but overall it's an awesome scent and a compliment getter. So, so good. You know, I didn't smell this BLNDRGRPHY Vanilla Mudslide on camera for you guys. Let me do that right now and give you a little bit more thoughts. It is inspired by a cocktail called the Mudslide, which I've never had before, but oh my God, it's good. It's so good. Really great fragrance created by Anne-Sophie of Flair. Sexy, really intense, super potent, and you know, a great projection. It just screams sex, I think, with the way the fragrance projects off of skin. And again, it's super spicy, a bit nutty, almondy. I'm not sure it's boozy. I guess there's some boozy touches because it does feature vodka, but it's an overdose of vanilla. So that is Vanilla Mudslide again. And then we're going to the house of Sospiro. It's Dolce Sonata. I decided to go with Dolce Sonata and not Dolce Melodia. I think the leathery touch that's in Dolce Sonata works a little bit better in the winter time. And in the end, this is kind of a fruity fragrance once again, but there is something smoky, leathery that comes in. Overall, though, the fragrance to me is a bit reminiscent to Fenty's original Eau de Parfum that came out like 5 years ago. Somewhat in that direction, with that kind of the leathery smokiness that kind of, you know, halts the fragrance and kind of changes direction a little bit and cuts away from the fruitiness and the spiciness and gives you a little bit smoke and leather. So I think it's a bit more appropriate, but it is kind of a fun and playful fragrance up until the leather and smoke kind of takes over. But it's super strong, really long lasting, great projection, and the kind of fragrance that people stop you and ask you. It will remind you of Fenty's original EDP, as I said. If you don't know that one, check that out as well. For me, the Fenty is a lot more cleaner. It doesn't have that kind of leathery, smoky, slight animalic thing that's happening with the way they did this fragrance. But next, moving on to the house of GUERLAIN, it's Tobacco Honey. And Tobacco Honey is one of the most realistic tobacco honey combos. Actually, I should say the most realistic honey, because the honey to me is so, so realistic. One of my favorite things is to have honey on toast or some kind of a scone or something. For me, the combination with butter is so, so delicious. And here I get the honey smell that I get in that toast or scone, so realistic. So they've done a really great job with the honey smell here, and contrasted with the ashiness of the tobacco. It's super awesome. What I like about this one also, it's one of the most potent Guerlain fragrances that I've actually been wearing. It's great projection. The cloud is huge. It's not like a subdued cloud. It's a really big cloud, which I like in fragrances, and it works really, really great in the winter time as well. So people will notice your smell It's a, you know, crowd-pleasing kind of a smell because the honey is very comforting and the dirtiness from the ash of tobacco contrasts beautifully. But along the way, there's some other notes in there. There's like sesames, there's oud in there. But for me, it's all about the tobacco and the honey, which is what it's called, the tobacco honey from the House of Guerlain. Check that out if you don't know it. Next, we're going to the House of Clive Christian. It's Town and Country. This is also really, really awesome. It's very amber woody, but also it's got this super sexiness. So a little goes a long way with this one, even though I think it's an eau de parfum. Oh no, it says perfume. So it is a parfum concentration, so a higher concentration. I was actually visiting Bergdorf Goodman last week, and I kind of came upon the Clive Christian section, and a woman stopped me and asked me, we were talking about this fragrance, and she was telling me a lot of her customers think this is a citrus fragrance, which I can see, but for me, the citrus starts but goes away to more amber woods, and I think it's the amber woods that gives the fragrance the strength, its intensity, its projection, and all that good stuff. There is citrus there for sure. It is a citrusy start, but fizzles away and, you know, blends together to create this really awesome fragrance that projects. It's got a bit of a cocaine-like vibe going for it. And I don't know if that's realistic, but you will definitely pick up kind of a zesty kind of a citrus up top, which I think a lot of people associate with citrus. For me, it's not really a citrus fragrance. The citrus is there, but it's all about the amber woods, and that's what I find sexy about this one too. So this is Town and Country from the House of Clive Christian. Let me know if you're familiar with that. This one actually recently I've been really enjoying. This is from the House of BOADICEA the Victorious. It's Ardent. Ardent, oh man, Ardent is so super sexy and also super strong, great projection. You know, the fragrances of this house are really, really big and beefy. It's the word I use for fragrances. Beefy as in they got a lot of meat on the bones kind of a thing. So they have great strength, and I like that about this one. This is, to me, is reminiscent of Noir de Noir. For me, I get like a wine effect with this one. I think the rose turns it into smelling a bit like wine, and most importantly, like mulled wine, because there's spiciness in here. There's a lot of warmth. But for me, I love that it's a sexy fragrance, and I like its intensity, its potency, and sure, it'll remind you of something familiar like Noir de Noir, but there's other things happening here with this fragrance that takes it into a slight different direction. But I like its intensity, its depth, and super sexy experience as well. So if you don't know that one, try. It's Ardent from the House of BOADICEA the Victorious. It's a super sexy fragrance combining rose and other notes. The next fragrance going to the House of BDK. This is Passoir Extrait. I'm a big fan of this one. I love it. It's a compliment getter. It's a great projection. I don't think it's the most popular in the brand overall, but I really love the way this fragrance turned out. The fruitiness with the pear and the quince in there, the patchouli and the chocolatey cacao touches together, giving you really awesome projection and great sillage and things like that. I think it's a really great experience wearing this one. It's very, very intoxicating. And once again, it's patchouli that does it for me. It's like one of the best notes. If you want intensity, if you want projection, you want sillage and things like that, this is definitely the kind of fragrance you would pull for. So awesome. Really great fragrance. This is BDK's Passoir Extrait. Let me know if you're familiar with that. The next fragrance going to the House of NISHANE. It's Ani. Yeah, I've actually kind of come back to this and started really, really enjoying this fragrance. I don't know why I kind of put it away, but I think Cécile Zarokian did an awesome job on this. First of all, this is an extrait de parfum, so it has great strength. That's what I like about it. But for me, the combination is quite interesting. It's almost like a warm, spicy Tigar because there's ginger in here, there's cardamom, and I think I get this with some citrusy touches up top, slightly reminding me a little bit of Tigar, but then the vanilla kicks in because it's a vanillic fragrance. There's also sandalwood here. So it's warm, vanillic, kind of gooey, but super spicy with the cardamom and the ginger. There's a lot of zing there. The citrus has also got some, you know, fresh citrusy tartness. Super amazing fragrance. I like it. It's kind of like two sides, warm and cold together. They're really working wonderfully, and I love that about it. Plus, it's got great strength and intensity. It projects like crazy. And I think this is the kind of fragrance you would want to pull for if you want something not super duper warm, ambery, but you want a little bit of that, but also some freshness in there as well. So the next fragrance I'm talking about is from the House of Thomas de Monaco. This is Raw Gold. Raw Gold was a really great fragrance. I was speaking about it for a while. Then I kind of put it away. Now I'm coming back to it. What I like about it is that it's honeyed once again, and it's patchouli, and you've got vanillic touches and all that good stuff here. Great projection also. It's super sexy, and there's something lightly funky under there with a little bit of an oudi touch and things like that. But overall, for me, it's the patchouli against the honey together. It's a super intoxicating, really long-lasting, and great projection with the fragrance as well. I personally think it's the best from the line, but maybe some of you might think of some of the other fragrances that are better from the house. But for me, I love the fragrance. It smells great. It's really super intoxicating, and it's also the kind of fragrance that people find great smelling off of me, and ones that ask me what I'm wearing and things like that. So it's a great fragrance from the house of Thomas de Monaco. I know it's not the original raw gold, but I think this is fairly close. The original was a bit animalic, and some people complained it was a bit too animalic for them. Here, it's not as bad. So try raw gold in the new bottle. It's super awesome. Turned out that one of my bottles was not on the table, so I had to go run and get it. So I paused the video there. But this next fragrance is from the house of JOVOY. This is Psychedelique. You know, this is a long standby. I'm a patchouli lover, and this is one of the best examples of patchouli that's like chocolate cakey. And they're not using chocolate here. It's not even a gourmand. It's more amber, and they're using the patchouli, which is earthy, woody, and also, you know, mixed with vanilla, but also balsamic notes and resinous notes, ambery notes, and some spices together to create this really awesome, long-lasting patchouli-focused fragrance that's super sexy and intoxicating. If you like the idea of a chocolate cakey, a little boozy as well, because this is also a little boozy from all of the notes that they're, you know, mixing together. There's no boozy notes listed, there's no chocolate listed, but you get that kind of a chocolate cakey, boozy chocolate cakey idea. Super awesome, great smelling fragrance. Definitely one to have in your collection, Psychedelique. Now, both the JUSBOX 54 and Psychedelique are patchouli focused, but for me, the patchouli is more in the raw form with Psychedelique. With 54, it's a bit more dressed up with other notes. But the next fragrance, going to the house of Thomas KOSMALA, it's number 10, DESIR de Coeur Elixir de Parfum. This, guys, is so super potent. It's nose blinding intense, and it's basically an amber woods bomb. So if you're not into the amber woods ambroxan type notes, this might be a bit overwhelming for you guys. But if you like it, it's super dry, dusty, ambery, powdery, earthy, slight aquatic, marine, because it is actually a reinterpretation of ambergris, and of course musky. So it's basically, that's what you're having. There might be some light citruses coming in, some other woods coming in as well, but those are like minute amounts of them. Most of the fragrance is about the amber woods, ambroxan like notes. So it's super musky, dry, dusty, woody, and ambery. Check that out. It's got major projection and super long lasting. But, you know, it's synthetic notes, so you got to be aware that it is a synthetic fragrance. Next, we're going to the house of Bon Parfumeur. It's Mur Shadow 403 or 403 Mur Shadow. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. This is another Quentin Biche creation. And this one actually also will remind you of his creations, his work. So there's elements of other fragrances that he's created in here. What I like about this, it's a kind of a vanillic, ambery, resinous fragrance because it's myrrh. It's about myrrh, but there's vanilla here. And it's reminiscent of a little bit of his Chloe fragrance of Vanilla Planifolia or Vanille Planifolia. I think that's what it's called. And then there's some greenness that comes in as well. But it's so super awesome to smell. Very intoxicating. Again, it's resinous, it's ambery, vanillic, slightly green, but a total Quentin Biche DNA that's super intoxicating and also really great projection and longevity. This is an extrait de parfum from Bon Parfumeur. It's Mur Shadow 403 or 403 Mur Shadow. Then we're going to the house of DOLCE. It's Tonka Hysteria. Tonka Hysteria also was a fragrance that was featured in a Scent Club kit recently, and really awesome Tonka focused gourmandesque fragrance, I should say, but really great smelling with an overdose of tonka, some citruses, spices, quite a bit of peppery spices. Maybe there's some incense in here as well, but really the way they made this fragrance is quite intoxicating. It's also really loud. The projection is amazing, and I think you'll smell really awesome here. Really great. One of the best fragrances from this house. In fact, it's still my favorite fragrance from the house, and definitely one of my favorites in the extracts from the house. There's 5 now. This launched with 2 others, and then they just launched 2 more. This still is my favorite, but there's a few others that are close. Maybe I'll do a video on all the extracts soon, but that is Tonka Hysteria. Really awesome fragrance. And then we've got another classic that I've spoken quite a bit about, and it's still, I consider it super intense, with great projection and all that good stuff. Perfect for the type of fragrance that turns heads. This is Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Yeah, this bottle is quite old. So for me, this is definitely a great holiday fragrance, and I usually wear it around Thanksgiving. So it's a Thanksgiving kind of a smell for me. It's super spicy, warm spicy, vanillic, and of course tobacco, a bit ashy. But along the way, there's dried fruity touches in here and ambery touches. And of course, the spices. There's these like holiday spices that come in. So that's why I find it to be the perfect, Thanksgiving fragrance. But it's about the projection, and it's the kind of fragrance that people really ask you what you're wearing, especially if you overspray it and people can smell your trail, the projection of the fragrance off of you. That's when people ask what the fragrance is. And it's the kind of fragrance people love, especially during the holidays, because it smells kind of like the holidays because of all the warm spices. It's a great scent, one of the best from Tom Ford, Tobacco Vanille, and that is an awesome scent. Then we're going to the House of Amouage with Guidance 46. Yes, they're taking the original Guidance into a more ambery direction. It's rosy for sure, and it's a bit fruity and nutty as well, but I think they've just intensified more of a resinous ambery experience. You still have the original in there for sure. It reminds you of the original, but then you've got this kind of a creamy ambery layer with the rosy touches, and there's some fruity touches in here as well. I think it's like pear. There's definitely the reminder of that here, but it's super duper intensified. Really, really long lasting. It smells really, really awesome. Maybe perhaps it might lean a little feminine, but a lot of people say they get the connection to Delina, which I don't get it, but because it's mixed in with some other notes that it just kind of crosses out Delina for me. To me, this reminds me more of Empatia from BDK than it does Delina, but then that's just my nose. That's what's picking up. But I think it's a great scent, really long lasting, super duper projection, and people really love the way that smells off of you. So if you haven't tried it, do try it. I'm going to the House of Nuit Nomade next. Yes, this is a strange one that garners compliments, but it does. This is Estrella de la Mañana from the House of Nuit Nomade. It is vanillic, it is chocolatey or cacao. It is also ambery, but it's the smoky notes that are in here from the Cade note is what makes the fragrance super duper dark. But the vanilla does come out. And I think there's traces of their other fragrance that came out in the extracts, the one that launched earlier this year, Chemin de Monde. I think I smelled traces of that in here. So there's something nutty under there. It's covered up with the Cade or the dark smoky note that's in here. That's also a bit leathery, but in the end, it's overwhelmed with a lot of that smoky touches, resinous touches. It's ambery, smoky, and vanillic and chocolatey as well, for sure. Really, really awesome. Really super long lasting. It smells great. It's different it's not necessarily like super duper gourmand is what I'm trying to say, but something that people love the way that the fragrance smells off of you. You're gonna have a lot of projection with this one. It's really, really beefy. So that's Estrella de la Mañana from the House of Nuit Nomade. And then we've got the last fragrance here, Vanille Supermassive from the House of Les Eaux Primordiales. They just announced the Oud Supermassive, which I got to smell last October during TFWA. They have actually two fragrances coming, two created by Julian Rascanet. I like the Oud, but I think I like the other one that's coming a little bit more. But going back to this is definitely an awesome fragrance. Once again, super sexy, and it's a kind of a vanilla that's very masculine leaning. It's got lots of spices, ambery notes, kind of pine woody notes, great projection, wonderful sillage, and actually real compliments do come in because it smells really, really great. It's different for a vanilla, definitely masculine leaning, but also super sexy with the musky notes and the dry down as well. So that's Vanille Supermassive from the House of Les Eaux Primordiales, and that's 21 perfumes that turn heads in the cold air for you. These are the projection kings. Let me know if you've tried these fragrances. I highly recommend them. I highly recommend that you try them, and do let me know what your thoughts are on these fragrances if you have tried them or you're willing to try them very soon. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll come back with another video for you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Okay, one last bonus fragrance for you guys. It didn't make the regular list because I just recently picked it up. This is Maison Cier's Perfect Oud Extrait, and I actually just spoke about it in a Maison Cier discounted, sale video recently. I mentioned it in that video. So it's an extrait de parfum of Perfect Oud, and it's super strong, really long lasting, intense, but also keeping the DNA of the original fragrance. It's just basically beefed up, intensified, made a bit darker. It's a bit smoky, but it's, you know, a Western oud that's very, very spicy. You might get the reminiscence of something like Tom Ford's Oud Wood, but in a bit of a different direction, a little bit more, you know, going in a different direction. I feel like there's also cypriol here. You can totally smell it in the fragrance, also with cardamom and things like that. Really awesome, I think, if you're looking for something a bit darker, but more of a Western oud. This is Perfect Oud Extrait de Parfum. Definitely check that out as well. See you later. Bye-bye.